Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at a blueprint so massive, it's literally reshaping the entire global economy. We are talking about Nvidia's $500 billion AI money plan. Now, if you follow tech at all, you already know Nvidia is the engine of the AI boom. But the exact mechanics of how they're monetizing it, that is what we're unpacking today. Okay, let's dive into the strategy and see exactly how they're building this empire.
$500 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. It's a number so huge it honestly rivals the GDP of entire nations. And this isn't just a lucky byproduct of selling a few more microchips. No way. This is a highly calculated, multi-layered roadmap designed to funnel the entire AI revolution directly into one single ecosystem.
Which brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? How do you actually capture $500 billion? Well, it doesn't happen by accident, and it certainly doesn't happen just by having a hot product for a couple of quarters. This requires an absolute masterclass in corporate strategy. So we have to follow the money, step by step, to reveal the blueprint Nvidia is using to position itself not just as a player in the AI boom, but literally as the toll booth for the entire industry.
Section 1. The $500 billion plan.
You see, Nvidia's roadmap has essentially become the tech industry's roadmap, completely dictating how fast the rest of the world can build and deploy artificial intelligence. But a financial plan of this massive magnitude, it can't exist purely in the cloud, right? It needs a physical anchor in the real world. You just can't build a massive software and services empire without the underlying infrastructure to support it. So where does this physical foundation actually start?
That brings us to Section 2, the hardware gold rush.
Think about the business model of this $500 billion plan like a medieval fortress. The hardware? That's the castle, establishing their territory. And during this current AI gold rush, the ultimate pickaxe is the GPU. Now, you likely already know what a graphics processing unit is, but its true AI superpower lies in massive parallel processing. We're talking about the ability to perform thousands of complex calculations simultaneously. The AI revolution as we know it simply doesn't happen without this very specific type of acceleration.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why Nvidia has totally captured the market. When you compare Nvidia's hardware against traditional computing, the stuff driven primarily by CPUs, the difference is staggering. Think of a traditional CPU like a genius professor solving complex math problems sequentially, one after another. Incredibly smart, but doing it one by one. Nvidia's GPUs, on the other hand, they're like an army of thousands of workers solving thousands of simpler problems all at the exact same time. For the heavy lifting of AI, the army wins every single time. It gives Nvidia an undeniable, massive market advantage.
But here's the catch, and any strategist will tell you this: success breeds competition. Literally every major tech giant on the planet right now is scrambling to build their own AI chips to break Nvidia's monopoly. So how long can they realistically keep this lead? How does a company protect a hardware advantage when the biggest companies in the world are throwing billions of dollars at trying to unseat them? Hardware alone is a pretty vulnerable castle.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, building the software moat. If the hardware is the castle, Nvidia knew they needed a massive, uncrossable moat to protect it. The water filling that moat? It's called CUDA. It's the critical software layer that allows developers to actually communicate with the GPU and tell it how to process those AI workloads. And here's a totally wild fact for you. Nvidia actually introduced CUDA nearly 2 decades ago. Because of that insane head start, an entire generation of engineers has learned to build AI exclusively using this platform. It is the hard-to-replicate tether that keeps clients firmly locked right inside Nvidia's ecosystem.
Let's break down exactly what makes this software moat so formidable. Because it's not just one thing, it's multiple, deep layers of dependency. First up, you have the foundational libraries that developers rely on literally every single day. Second, you have this incredibly seamless integration with all the major AI frameworks. And third, you have profound developer familiarity. If a company wants to switch to a cheaper, non-Nvidia chip today, they don't just swap out a piece of metal. No, they have to retrain their entire engineering team and completely rewrite their code base. That friction, that is the massive barrier to entry for any competitor.
So, the crucial point is that this 1-2 punch of unmatched hardware and a deeply entrenched software moat guarantees massive revenue. But we have to step back and ask ourselves, is dominating hardware and foundational software alone really enough to reach that towering $500 billion mark? Actually, no. To reach that kind of mind-bending scale, you have to capture way more of the value chain.
And that is Section 4, expanding the AI ecosystem.
See, Nvidia's plan goes far beyond just making chips and the code that runs them. They are rapidly transforming from a component supplier into an end-to-end platform provider. They are conceptually dividing up the entire financial pie. Sure, you have the massive initial chunk from hardware sales, but look at those growing segments of enterprise software licenses and, crucially, cloud services. By offering their own supercomputing capabilities directly as a service, they are capturing recurring revenue streams. They're expanding their reach way, way beyond traditional hardware upgrade cycles.
Let's move to and see how this builds phase by phase, because their calculated rollout is an absolute masterstroke of market capture. They started by dominating gaming, right? Then they used those profits to enter the data center and perfectly position themselves for the AI explosion. And now they are moving toward building complete AI factories, fully integrated systems of networking, hardware, and software, all sold as a single massive solution directly to giant enterprises and governments. The whole shebang.
When you zoom back out from the specific, granular mechanics of GPUs and software platforms, you really have to look at the global implications. This blueprint is effectively wiring the infrastructure for the next generation of human innovation. So where exactly does this money plan take us next?
Section 5. The future of AI.
When a single entity captures this much of a foundational technology, their corporate roadmap effectively becomes our timeline. Mapping out the chronological execution of this plan gives you a real sense of its sheer scale and momentum. Think about it, we are moving from the era of just training large language models into the era of inference, where AI is actually applied and reasoning in real time. From there, the roadmap targets sovereign AI, where entire countries are building their own AI infrastructure, followed by the massive integration of AI into physical robotics and autonomous automotive systems. Nvidia has positioned itself to monetize absolutely every single step of this timeline.
Now let's do an essential so what check. Why does this corporate strategy actually matter to you? Well, because this $500 billion plan is literally shaping the next era of the internet. It dictates the capabilities of the apps you use every day, the efficiency of the medical research that protects you, and the complete evolution of the global job market. Nvidia's success or failure in executing this exact plan will literally determine how fast these futuristic technologies become our everyday reality.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that we often think of technology as this natural, organic evolution, right? But the reality is that it is fiercely driven by highly calculated, immensely profitable strategic plans. This $500 billion blueprint is the driving ambition of the revolution. It is the financial engine that is almost single-handedly pushing the artificial intelligence revolution forward.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this to ponder. We've seen the hardware castle, we've explored the software moat, and we've mapped out the massive ecosystem expansion. The pieces are all firmly in place. So as this totally unprecedented consolidation of wealth and processing power continues, how will Nvidia's $500 billion blueprint directly alter your technological future? It's a fascinating question, and one we will all be living out the answer to very, very soon. Keep learning, keep focusing, and I'll see you in the next one.